thin. In a small village nestled among the rolling hills of Japan, there lived a young boy named Aki. He was a quiet, thoughtful child. Not much for the boisterous games other children played. Instead of memorizing scriptures or practicing calligraphy at the village temple school, Aki's heart belonged to one thing and one thing only: drawing cats. His scrolls weren't filled with wise proverbs, but with cats of all shapes and sizes. Sleek black cats with piercing green eyes, fluffy white cats curled up in a nap, and playful calico cats chasing their own tails. The head priest of the temple, a kind but stern man, would often sigh when he saw Aki's work. "Aki," he'd say, his voice gentle but firm, "your talent is undeniable, but there is more to life than drawing cats. You must study the scriptures. You must learn the ways of the world." Aki would nod obediently, his eyes cast down, but his fingers would already be itching for a brush. He simply couldn't help it. The world, to him, was a canvas, and cats were its most perfect subjects. He saw the curve of a cat's back in the slope of a hill and the flick of its tail in the rustling bamboo. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, a palpable fear settled over the village. A monstrous goblin rat had taken refuge in the abandoned shrine at the edge of the woods. It was a terrifying creature, larger than a grown man, with glowing red eyes and teeth as sharp as daggers. Travelers who dared to pass the shrine at night would vanish, and a chilling silence was all that remained. The villagers, paralyzed by fear, locked their doors and shuttered their windows as soon as dusk fell. That same evening, Aki had stayed late at the temple, lost in his art. He had covered a large paper screen with a magnificent mural of dozens of cats. By the time he finished, the moon was high in the sky, and the temple was dark and empty. Everyone had gone home, forgetting the small, quiet boy in their haste to escape the encroaching darkness. Finding the main gates locked, Aki knew he couldn't return to the village. Remembering the old, abandoned shrine nearby, he thought it would be a safe place to spend the night. Who didn't know about the monster that lurked within its walls? Pulling his thin robe tighter around him, Aki made his way to the shrine. It was dusty and filled with shadows that danced in the pale moonlight filtering through the broken paper windows. Undeterred, he found a large, empty cabinet, just big enough to curl up inside. Before settling down, he couldn't resist one last act of creation. With a piece of charcoal he found on the floor, he began to draw. On the wooden walls of the shrine, he drew cats. Powerful cats, with arched backs and unsheathed claws. Guardian cats, their eyes gleaming with intelligence and courage. He drew until his fingers were sore, filling every available space with his feline protectors. Finally, exhausted, he climbed into the cabinet, pulled the door shut, and fell into a deep sleep. In the dead of night, a terrible shriek shattered the silence. The goblin rat had returned. It stomped into the shrine, its massive form casting a monstrous shadow. It sniffed the air, its red eyes glowing with malice as it sensed the presence of the sleeping boy. The creature lunged towards the cabinet, its claws ready to tear the wood apart. But just as it was about to strike, something incredible happened. A low growl echoed through the shrine. The cats Aki had drawn on the walls began to stir. Their charcoal eyes blinked open, glowing with a fierce, otherworldly light. One by one, they peeled themselves from the wooden walls, from two-dimensional drawings into living, breathing creatures of ink and shadow. A great army of cats, large and small, silent and deadly, surrounded the monstrous rat. The goblin rat, shocked and terrified, let out a furious roar, but it was no match for the legion of feline guardians. They swarmed the beast, a whirlwind of claws and teeth. The shrine was filled with the sounds of a supernatural battling, scratching, and the desperate squeals of the monster. Aki, safe inside his cabinet, heard the commotion and huddled deeper, his heart pounding in his chest. The fight raged on, and then, as suddenly as it began, there was silence. When the first rays of morning light streamed into the shrine, Aki cautiously peeked out of the cabinet. He gasped. Lying in the center of the room was the defeated body of the giant gobbly rat, and all around, the charcoal cats were returning to their places on the walls, their forms becoming flat and still once more, their painted eyes no longer glowing. They were just drawings again. When the villagers, led by the worried priest, arrived at the shrine, they found Aki safe and sound. They saw the vanquished monster and the walls covered in heroic cats. They finally understood. Aki's art, the very thing they had once dismissed, had saved him. It had saved them all. From that day on, Aki was no longer just the boy who drew cats. He was a hero. He grew up to be a celebrated artist, his paintings renowned throughout Japan. His work was not just beautiful. It was filled with a special kind of magic, a reminder to everyone that imagination holds its own power, and that sometimes the things we love most are the very things that will protect us.